this is not a typical lecture where we're discussing just one type of IP right, but instead in this lecture, we're going to be comparing two IP rights, and specifically the lecture is going to address the differences between copyright protection on the one hand and patent protection on the other hand. First and foremost, we're already clear about the fact that patents are concerned with inventions in the field of technology, while copyrights are concerned with literary and artistic works. But in this lecture, I want you to focus and think about the fact that it is possible to have an overlap of rights in certain cases. As always, we're going to be using an example in order to understand exactly these rights can overlap in certain situations. So let's say there is an engineer who has written a blog article that provides technical details about how one can fit an air conditioner into a car. And once again, for the sake of simplicity, let's presume that so far we're living in a world with cars that don't have air conditioners. Okay, so once this engineer has published this particular paper, then he is going to be entitled to prohibit other people from copying his paper. But since the author of the paper is only entitled to copyright protection, so if, for instance, someone starts following the instructions provided in the paper, and after a lot of trials and errors, that person does end up manufacturing a car which does have an air conditioner, so this person who has manufactured the car with the AC has not in any way infringed the engineer's copyright, because it's not like he has simply copied that paper and started selling it in the market, but instead this person has simply made use of the technical information that was provided in the paper. Okay, now let's imagine the opposite. That is, let's say that if an engineer actually manufactures the very first car ever that does have an AC, and let's presume that he also applies for and successfully obtains a patent with regard to his invention, then obviously this engineer is going to be entitled now to prohibit other people from manufacturing and of course selling cars with ACs. However, on the flip side, if this particular engineer has started manufacturing cars with ACs and has obtained a patent with regard to his invention, that does not mean that this particular patent is going to entitle that engineer to prohibit people from writing a paper or an article that provides the details about the structure and performance of this new car which does have an AC. So hopefully through this example you can appreciate that the focus of copyright protection is totally different from that of patent protection. And of course there are lots of other differences between copyrights and patents. For example, if you recall, we have already discussed that the biggest difference between copyrights and patents is in the way that they are obtained. But the purpose of this lecture is not to discuss all of the differences between copyrights and patents, but merely to explain the scope of protection that each of these systems offers.